All right, so today's project is I'm going to try to build a dirt screener using just the materials I have laying around, which isn't a lot, so it ought to be pretty interesting. So let me go gather some stuff and I will be right back. All right, so what we have now is some 4x4s, a 2x4 that's really crooked, and some just regular fencing. The issue I've already run into is I need to make the screener a little bit wider than my bucket, and that 4x4 is too short. The others will work for what I need. So I could use the 2x4 in place of the 4x4 and just put it on the bottom. I think that would work. But that causes another issue of, because I have to use this fencing, I'm gonna have to go sideways with it. So I have to do one lower and then one above. So I kind of need a board to run across the middle to be able to secure each panel to. So I'm gonna have to see if I can find some more material. I don't think I have anything. And if I can't find anything, then I'll just have to make something work. So let me keep looking and I'll get back with you guys. So real quick, I'll show you what I've got. So the whole thing will be 96 inches tall or long by 84 inches wide. So that's the piece going across the middle that I was talking about, because I'm going to have to run the panels, the fence wire that way. And then I'll have to figure out something for some legs for the very back. No luck on finding anything yet. So what I've got here is, that's going to be the long side, that'll be the short side, pretty obvious. I'm thinking that I'm just going to screw this like that so I can attach the fence along there. Similar across the top, run two panels this way. Let's get to cutting. This is going to be far from perfection. Here you can see how crooked this 2x4 really is. This thing is not good for much, but should be perfect for this. Oh, almost perfect. Don't think I'll be able to get that any straighter, unfortunately. All right, so since I did not really I just did a nice face plant there in the mud. That was good. That was awesome. All right, let's try this again. So I didn't really think this through on how I'm going to connect this, because the screws I have are only 3 inches long. So I guess there's a couple ways I could do this. I could drill into the wood a little bit so the screw can sit farther in. That would probably work. I could put them at an angle, but I really don't like to do that. I don't think you get a good, at least I don't think I get a good solid connection that way. So let me grab a drill bit. So I'm in the middle of moving my little storage thing over there. So I've kind of thrown this temporary setup over here for now, just to have somewhere to put the stuff in the meantime. So it's not bad. I was gonna go all gung-ho with this and put a roof on it, all that, and then I started looking around and I realized that this tree, this big ass tree right here, is dead. And of course it's leaning right towards that. But that's not all. This tree is dying and is rotten in the bottom. You can see a little rot on that side and a lot of rot here. And can you guess which way this one's leaning? Right there. So in a feeble attempt to try to add a little bit of protection, I kind of anchored this log right there, but I don't think it's going to do anything if this thing decides to go. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this now, but it does work for a temporary situation. A buddy of mine had the idea of storing tools and screws and stuff like that in file cabinets, and it works really well. So I kind of adopted that tradition. All right, so if I do a 5/8 hole, that's to give the screw plenty of room. So yeah, temporary roof. I just remembered I do have some lumber right here, but that is nice lumber. I'd like to save that for something else, so we're gonna just stick to what we have. So tarp for a roof, tarp on that side, and like I said, I'm just storing stuff in here for now temporarily until I get my more permanent setup going. For those of you that might have seen the garden video, that's what it looks like now. Still a lot of space in there for other stuff, but it's coming along nicely. I have a feeling I'm probably going to need to put a lot more bracing on this, but just to get the initial thing together. All right, that works. All right, that definitely sunk them in there. So the next step is going to be to lay the fencing across. I really wish that this was a little bit longer. I guess I'll just have to find something at some point later on to put across there. So let me get some snips so we can cut the wire and we'll get that placed. The wire is going to have to be a total of at least 91 1/4. All right, so 91 1/4 lands roughly here. So if we're gonna wrap over, let's do that. So because this is like a 2x4 opening, I'm probably gonna have to set another layer on top and stagger it a bit so I can cut that down to like a 2x2 or something. Let's see how this is gonna work. Pretty strong little gun. That's pretty good. I almost need something to be able to pry with if I'm gonna get this wire tight at all. I can use these for the time being. Well, this will kind of work until I snap the wire off. All right, so I'll definitely have to go back and add a lot more staples to this. From there to there is 50 inches. So my next wire is only gonna come to 48. But when I do my top pieces again to stagger them, it'll close that gap. So that should work fine. So since you already saw me do this, I'm not gonna make you watch me do that part. I'm gonna go ahead and knock this section out, and then I'll bring you guys right back to it. I got my sidekick, Tim, to hold that end up for me, and the golf cart to hold that end up. So I've got the first layer stapled down fairly well. I still need to fold over the edges and all, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and lay the second layer on top and just see how it looks. Kind of get an idea for what I'm doing here. Not sure how well this is gonna work. All right, getting it tight is gonna be the hard part. So let me give you kind of an up close perspective here of what I'm doing. So it's gonna look something like that. Hopefully. That's the goal. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. So if I'm not wrong, this is a fence stretcher. I got it from my grandfather. So who knows how old this thing is or how many miles of fencing it has stretched. But let's just see. Probably not gonna work that well because I've got the other wire underneath of it. Actually, that's not bad right there. Need a refill. Really impressed with this little stapler. This wire is definitely not in the best of shape. Figure if this doesn't work, then I'm out what? Some crappy wire and some half-rotten 4x4s and a crooked-ass 2x4, so, and some staples. So it's worth a try, I think, just to see if I can get something decent out of a bunch of junk. We'll see. I think most likely what's gonna happen is this thing's just gonna get so entangled with roots that it's probably not gonna work at all. Guess I need to fold over the edges now and staple those down. I still need to find a centerpiece. But real quick, this is kind of the grid we've got now. So it overlaps down the middle, which is good. So it's a decent grid. I mean, it's not even by any stretch of the word, but it'll probably stop logs and boulders. So that's good. All right, I'm gonna gather a little bit of more material from somewhere and be back here in a bit. All right, so this is my finished, for now, dirt screener. So I'll show you guys what it looks like. This is several hours later after the last scene. But so I found an extremely rotten 2x4 that seems to work well for that. I went ahead and stapled all the wire really well all the way around. Added some hinges and found another 4x4, which would have been nice to find earlier, but hey. I did add extra supports here, which actually work as a good stop for the leg so it doesn't continue to go back. I've got a way to strap the legs up when I need to move this thing around. And that's also what the 2x4s on the top and these right here are for. So I'll show you guys real quick what it looks like hooking up to it. So I may work on a better way to do this, but for now, since I'm going to be dumping from the backside anyway, this seems to be fairly effective. So now what I'm able to do is latch it up like that, and then I can move it around fairly easily. Put it where I need to put it. So I have not dumped any dirt on it yet, so that's the next thing I want to do. And we'll see how terrible it is at its one and only job, which is to screen dirt. So I'll bring you guys back as soon as I get that all set up. All right, I would say that that's a success. I think the angle's pretty good. Everything seemed to fall off for the most part. And even though this stuff is like super wet, I mean, you can make clumps out of it wet, it seemed to do fairly good. So not bad for a bunch of junk. Made something decent out of it. So hopefully you learned something or something, who knows. But anyway, thanks for watching.